Hello, this is Heather Hoffman, and today I have a fun, summery, sparkly popsicle card. As summer approaches and kids are getting out of school and warmer days are coming, it's just kind of fun to think about pulling out things to celebrate summer and warmer weather, and popsicles are kind of one of the things I think of when I think of summer and sitting outside and kids enjoying them. So I pulled out one of the new Reverse Confetti releases called Hey Sugar, and I stamped the popsicle image 3 times and cut it out with its coordinating confetti cuts. And then I've picked some very simple Copic colors. You notice I only picked a single color for each of the popsicles. I'm not even adding any shading because I'm going to add some sparkle to them later in a little bit with some glitter. So this is super easy coloring. Really no effort involved in this part at all. So I colored the top and the bottom just with single colors, again with Copic markers. Then I have a really pale warm gray, I think it's a 0 or 1, and for the very center I'm just kind of adding a slight shadow by going on each side and flicking in towards the center, leaving some white area, so don't completely cover it. It just adds a little bit more realism. And then of course can't forget the popsicle sticks either. Have to have those colored. Now that I've got all 3 of those colored, I'm going to grab some scrap paper and then some glue adhesive. My favorite is Glossy Accents because when it dries it also has a good shine to it, which just kind of enhances the sparkles. I'm using Rock Candy Distress Glitter from Ranger, and pretty much I squirt a little bit of the Glossy Accents onto the center. You can spread it with something else. You can spread it with the tip, with a Q-tip. My favorite is just get my fingers in there and get dirty, and I feel like I can spread it the smoothest and most even that way. And it's kind of fun just to get in and feel it anyway. I keep a damp cloth close by, and as soon as I spread it around, I quickly clean my finger off that way. It doesn't dry on there or stay wet. In this case, I'm using a baby wipe. And go and do the same thing on the last one, and then I'm just sprinkling the glitter over the top and coating it really well. I'm using a spoon to scoop out of my jar. You could also just sprinkle over a piece of paper or a little bowl or dish to be able to scoop the excess back in there. Now I'm going to set those aside and grab my white card base. And for this, I wanted to add a little detail along the bottom, so I pulled out the newest 6x6 paper pad called Paper Bliss, and I had some scraps of this orange paper. So I tore a couple edges on the strips, and I'm gluing them together for a double torn edge. Again, this is just going to add a fun little bit of texture on the bottom. And you notice it's too long, but by adhering it on and then trimming it from the back with my scissors, I can make sure it perfectly fits my card base. You can trim it down to size first. I just like this because if my measurements are slightly off of my card base or anything, I know it's going to fit and it's going to work. Now these popsicles are not dry yet, but I wanted to plan where to place my sentiment on the bottom and add a little detail down there, so I carefully set them on. I was going to offset the sentiment, and I ended up deciding to center it right in the middle, and I'm going to carefully slide those off and set those aside, and I won't adhere those until they're fully and completely dry. I'm using a little bit of Midnight dye ink to stamp my sentiment, also from the same Hey Sugar stamp set. Now to add a fun little detail on the side of the sentiment, I pulled back out those same 3 Copic markers. I'm going to add little dots. You could use a ruler to line them up straight. I just kind of eyeballed it. I'm really grateful that they ended up lining up and looking good. And then I pulled out some clear Nuvo drops, and I'm going to put a little dot over the top of each of those Copic markers. And it kind of soaks up the color from the Copic, so when it dries, you basically end up with custom colored little enamel dots, which is kind of fun. So I used my stamp block just to hold my card base flat so that those can dry and be nice and even. There you go. Can you see all the sparkle on those popsicles and see how those little drops at the bottom ended up being the perfect color to coordinate? Thanks so much for coming by. I hope you enjoy. Have a wonderful day.